What's up guys, BARRYGAMING here, back with some more Mythic heroes, and today I want to go over pretty much the top 5 heroes that will help carry your account through the beginning of the game, especially on like a free-to-play or a low spender account. Whales, of course, you're just probably going to go for like Lucifer, completely crush it, it is what it is, but this is for every average player out there. What heroes to focus on, and a brief description of what they're better at than the other ones in the top 5, because of course you're gonna need that carry hero. Eventually we'll go over what healers and support heroes to use for your account, what tanks to use, all those good things. The one amazing thing about Mythic heroes right now is even the worst heroes aren't that bad compared to the really good ones, but if you really want to focus on optimal progression, go for one of these 5 heroes. So let's jump right into it. So coming in at number 5 is going to be Izanami. So she can be a very strong hero in the early game. She is of course a mage type from the Shadow Wars faction, and she's very good but very squishy. The one thing, she kind of reminds me of like a budget version of Lucifer in a way, where they survive through lifesteal, but they're going to take a lot of damage too. So if they're not really powered up, you're going to struggle. If they're not your carry hero, they're probably going to struggle a little bit. Her active ability is very, very strong, where she gets a lifesteal portion of the damage done. She has tons of ghosts that kind of surround her, deal damage percent per second. Really, really good. She summons a bunch of ghosts, like I said, that deal damage directly in front of her. It collects other wandering ghosts and marks new enemies, deals damage, recovers health equal to 100% of the damage dealt. You can kind of get the feel of why she is so good, because her damage is pretty solid overall, and then she has 2 different abilities that are life stealing for her to keep her going throughout combat. Now, our last one is her spirit form protects an aura around her, reducing her damage taken by 10% as well. That's always good. And then each ghost further reduces damage taken by 4%. So not only does she have that lifesteal, she also has that damage reduction. We're going to take a look at her abilities here too. You can see her wave attack is really good. Her single target giving her some really nice healing. And then we'll wait to do her active ability right here. Pop this one right here. It's a very nice single target there. Get some good damage rolling there. It kind of just sits there. It continues to tick, but her wave attack is very, very good AoE. So with this hero, you really want to pay attention to positioning. Usually back center row is probably going to be her best spot to make sure she's hitting as many heroes as possible. And yeah, very, very good option. But again, only comes in at number 5. Next up on the list, coming in at number 4, is going to be Tamameo. I always hate saying a lot of these names, and you're probably going to get a lot of that here on BARRYGAMING, but she is of the Viridian faction, is another mage. She's very good. Overall, she doesn't really have any healing in her kit. Most of her abilities are just straight up damage dealing abilities, including her active ability. She summons these fire foxes that lock in and travel in random enemies, dealing damage. Quickly moves behind the target. One thing she's really good at is mobility on the field, and that is really what keeps her alive in these combats. She can do some AoE in the way of en route to the next enemy. She can deal damage, but her really big survivability tool is going to be her Phantom Dash. So she's very, very strong in the early game. She does fall off a little bit in the late game, where her survivability does become an issue even with Phantom Dash. So basically what happens is every time she dashes, she teleports, she becomes immune to the next attack, and she just kind of zips around the battlefield. This effect can be triggered once every 6 seconds, but when it gets up to level 4, it's every 3 seconds. And man, oh man, does it feel really good when she's just zipping all around the battlefield. She can dodge some big area of effect type attacks. And yeah, you can see what it looks like. Now, her active ability is pretty cool. It summons a kind of swirling thing that kind of dishes out damage. The damage is a little unreliable on where it's going to hit compared to some of the other heroes in this list, which is why she's good, but I feel like that's the one thing she really lacks. The one fun thing is watching her on 3 times speed and just watch her zip all over the battlefield. Like, you can see why I love her. I built her as my secondary carry hero behind my Lucifer. Even on my whale account, I love this hero. She's absolutely awesome. Coming in at number 3 is probably a lot of people's favorites hero for like the early game, and that's Artemis. So Artemis is a fighter hero in the Luminarch faction. She is, out of the 5 here, probably the best boss damage dealer as well. So if you're really wanting to like maximize your boss damage in guild and things like that, Artemis is probably going to be a really good pickup for you. She looks awesome too. And she has a lot of CC abilities tied into her skill set. So her Crescent Arrow active ability, her ultimate, basically is going to shoot 10 arrows at random targets, dealing damage, but also having a chance to stun them for 1 second. Now, 1 second doesn't sound like a lot, but that can interrupt the flow of the enemy team and things like that. The other thing that's really good is her Lunar Strike. This ability right here is going to deal damage to the closest enemy hero and knock them back for 3 seconds. Now, the knockback is actually really good because she has ability Full Moon that says for every 500 units of distance between her and the enemy, she's going to deal additional damage. That's pretty solid. And then lastly, she does some good AoE volleying at her target, things like that. The one thing I'll really say with her is I feel like she definitely needs more of a support, a good tank in the front row to make sure she has that distance between herself and enemies. When we're talking about actual like boss fights though with single target, she's very good at focusing it down. Her ultimate right here, you'll see, is kind of like again, it's not a reliable source of damage, kind of like Tamamayo, and it's a little more random, but she has really good AoE. But again, I usually say she kind of needs that support hero to be in front of her to keep her going. She doesn't have the survivability like some of the other heroes on this list, but she definitely has some really good skill sets. So next up on the list is probably one of the hardest names to say in the game, which is why the entire community just calls them GM or GNM or one of those things. So if you ever see GM written down in any of the guides or anything like that, just know it's these two right here. They are a pair from the Guardian faction. They are mages, and they have different abilities depending on which one is out in combat at a time. So you only have one of them out, and then they swap. So she is essentially more of the survivability side of things. He's more of the damage dealing side of things. So when she uses the ultimate ability and switch out, they recover health and they deal big AoE damage. The nice thing about this is when it gets to level 4, they can cast it even when they're CC'd, and then they also disperse and get rid of all debuffs on him when he comes into the combat. Again, everything they have is very AoE oriented. You'll notice right here in craftsmanship, she increases her dodge by 36%, which goes up to 45. It's very good. And then he increases his crit chance. So when you see here, I'll show you in combat. When you start out, she's here too. She gets a ton of dodges. If you just watch her, she'll dodge so many abilities here that she just doesn't take damage, which is her big survivability part. When you do use the active ability is when they do swap places, they'll get that heal off, they'll dispel buffs on him, and then they continue combat. So it's a very popular hero to use, but again, they will fall off in the end game, but early game they're extremely strong, which is why they get second place. So last up, but certainly not least, actually the exact opposite, the most important hero on this entire list right here is gonna be Susano. So Susano is, again, from the Luminarch faction, is a fighter and is probably one of the best overall, most versatile heroes we have in this list, and is the most relevant when it comes to the end game. Very good against boss damage too. He has some different type of survivability. So number 1 is his active ability, Phantom Fury. 7 consecutive slashes against the enemy increases as you get higher levels, but during that time while he's slashing them, he can't be targeted, so he's not going to be taking that damage or anything that some other heroes would be. When the battle starts with his Phantom Slash, he'll blink across to the other side of the battlefield, stun the target for 3 seconds, and deal a massive amount of damage. That again can go up in damage as the levels go up, and the stun will last longer. His Piercing Strike is basically increasing his critical strike chance, but then when he does crit, it's going to also increase his attack speed that can stack up to 3 times. Is very good. And the one part that he does get some healing is he recovers 20% of his current missing health for every crit when it gets to level 3. So for every crit, he will heal. But again, that's not 20% of his max HP. It's just his current missing. So if he's only missing 10% HP when he crits, he's going to heal for 2% of his HP. Then if he's at 8% and he crits again, what is that? 20% is like 1.6% health. So you see it's lesser of a heal the more health he has, but if he's down to like 1% HP, he's gonna almost heal for 20% of his actual health pool. So it's pretty cool. And then lastly, Tempest Blade, he slashes 4 times, dealing a ton of damage for each hit. And the skill can't be dodged when you get past level 3. So out of all of them, you'll notice the blink right here is very, very good. He'll have that nice little AoE damage there, the pushback stun ability. And then when we do get to his active, you'll notice he is untargetable and he just starts slashing around at single target enemies, but he will proceed to keep attacking on and on. So what do you guys think about the list? Would you rank them any differently? Would you put GM maybe lower in the list just because, you know, gonna fall off in the later game? Would you prioritize Artemis because she's gonna be the best boss damage dealer pretty much in the game out of these 5? So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We have a 15,000 subscriber $100 gift card giveaway going on too, so make sure you guys enter that link in the description, and I'll see you guys next time.